All of a sudden, a sharp gleam flashed through Han Li's eyes, and he abruptly did away with his concealment secret technique, instantly exposing himself and Lu Yuqing. Immediately thereafter, he slung an arm around her waist as arcs of golden lightning began to emerge over his body, then converged above them to form a thick bolt of golden lightning that enveloped both of them and erupted into the air. Shui Han was quite startled by this, and he hurriedly swiveled around, following which a cold smile appeared on his face. "I knew you couldn't have gone very far." The huge black net above the medicine garden suddenly began to rumble violently, while also rapidly becoming around twice as thick as before. At the same time, a series of black threads shot out of all of the connective points on the net, then sped directly toward the bolt of golden lightning that was rising up into the sky. The black threads appeared to be moving in a rather languid fashion, but they were astonishingly fast, even more so than the bolt of golden lightning. The bolt of golden lightning was weaving from side to side to evade the black threads as it approached the black net up above. But it was swarmed by the vast expanse of black threads no more than 100 feet away from the net. A burst of constrictive law powers erupted out of the black threads, and the bolt of golden lightning instantly faded to reveal Han Li and Lu Yuqing. The surrounding black threads didn't stop even for a moment as they continued to sweep toward the two, and they were as dense as rain, making them impossible to evade. Han Li's pupils contracted slightly upon seeing this, but he remained calm and collected as he summoned his mantra Treasured Axis, which began to revolve rapidly before immediately vanishing back into his body. Immediately thereafter, a layer of faint golden light emerged over his body, and he transformed into a golden blur as he continued to rush toward the black net overhead. All of a sudden, he had become extraordinarily fast, allowing him to evade the seemingly unavoidable mass of black threads with ease. All of this had transpired in the blink of an eye, and before Shui Han had a chance to react, Han Li and Lu Yuqing had already bypassed the storm of black threads and appeared directly underneath the huge black net. A hint of surprise flashed through Shui Han's eyes upon seeing this, but he wasn't overly alarmed. Even though Han Li and Lu Yuqing had managed to bypass the storm of black threads, there was no way that they would be able to get through the black net. Not only was the net imbued with restrictive law powers, it was extremely resilient, which meant that it could trap even a golden immortal, let alone a mere true immortal like Han Li. With that in mind, Shui Han stowed away the miniature silver pagoda in his hand, then flew up toward Han Li's duo. Right at this moment, an incredibly powerful golden immortal stage aura surged out of Han Li's body, followed immediately by an eruption of thick and translucent arcs of golden lightning that were far more formidable than the golden lightning from before. At the same time, a massive crab pincer emerged from Han Li's body with thick arcs of golden lightning flashing around it, and it closed around the huge black net like a giant pair of lightning scissors. A gash was instantly torn into the net, and it wasn't a very large one, but large enough for two people to pass through. Shui Han's expression changed drastically upon seeing this. Han Li immediately flew out of the opening as a faint shadow, then fled into the distance without any hesitation, vanishing out of sight in the blink of an eye. Right after Han Li got away, Shui Han immediately arrived outside the black net as well, and he cast his gaze toward the direction that Han Li had fled in as he roared in a furious voice, "After him!" In a dense forest to the left of the mountain summit, a streak of golden light descended out of the sky, then faded to reveal Han Li and Lu Yuqing. "Brother Han, why are you flying away from this place?" Lu Yuqing asked with a slightly panicked expression. "We're being chased by a golden immortal. If I were on my own, perhaps I would be able to outrun him, but I can't guarantee the same if you're with me, and if we flee to the sea, there won't be anywhere that we can take cover, so it'll be very difficult to shake them off," Han Li explained while quickly scouring his surroundings. Lu Yuqing's expression changed slightly upon hearing this, and she was very thankful that Han Li hadn't abandoned her. Having said that, hiding here isn't a permanent solution. Either we have to conceal our auras and hide elsewhere on the island. Do you have an aura concealment spirit treasure on you? Han Li asked. I do. My father gave me one before I came here. Lu Yuqing immediately replied with a nod. She then flipped a hand over to produce an extremely thin white veil garment that she promptly put on. A layer of faint white light instantly emerged over the veil garment, and it vanished out of sight, having fused into her clothes in a flash. At the same time, her aura had also become very subtle and difficult to detect. Han Li swept his spiritual sense over her momentarily, then gave a pleased nod as he said, That'll do. Once we open up some distance between them and ourselves, we should be able to remain hidden. At the same time, he was also using his transient guild and an aura concealment secret technique to completely stifle his own aura. After that, the two of them made their way into the dense forest in the opposite direction from the medicine garden. Not long after their departure, 4 figures descended out of the sky, landing where they had been standing not long ago. Their auras have vanished here, Layman Boneflame said with tightly furrowed brows. They must be hiding like cowards because they're scared of us. A burly man with a formidable physique chuckled coldly. We have to find them. Otherwise, we'll have to face the wrath of Master Shui Han, another ubiquitous pavilion cultivator said with a concerned expression. No need to panic. I have something here that should be able to help us track them down, Taoist Clearbright said with a smile. He then flipped a hand over to produce a miniature golden cauldron, on the lid of which was engraved a peculiar-looking beast with a remarkably long trunk of a nose. Its eyes were closed, and its trunk was coiled, giving it a rather adorable appearance. Taoist Clearbright then summoned a piece of black incense before tossing it into the miniature cauldron after setting a light. After that, he chanted an incantation before laying a finger onto the head of the strange beast on the cauldron's lid, and the beast's eyelids instantly sprang open to reveal a pair of ruby-like eyes. It began sniffing around the area before turning its trunk in the direction that Han Li's duo had departed in, before releasing a cloud of dense white smoke. This spirit cauldron can sniff out the magic power, scent, aura, and many other telltale signs left behind by cultivators in the air. In particular, it's very sensitive to the bodily aroma of women. However, it won't work if too much time has passed, so we have to get after them right away. Taoist Clearbright said. The other 3 ubiquitous pavilion cultivators were ecstatic to see this, and they hurriedly set off in the direction that the cloud of smoke was pointing in. Meanwhile, Han Li and Lu Yuqing had arrived in a dilapidated garden. All of the pavilions and buildings had already collapsed, and there were layers of slick moss and masses of tangled vines clinging to everything. The garden wasn't very large, and it had been constructed on the outskirts of the forest, which meant that leaving the garden equated to emerging from the forest. The exit of the garden was a semi-collapsed circular archway, outside of which was a small winding path that was covered in weeds leading all the way down the mountain. Someone's coming after us, Han Li suddenly said as he stopped in his tracks and turned around. How? We've already concealed our auras. Lu Yuqing exclaimed with a surprised expression. We may have concealed our auras, but that doesn't mean that they don't have other ways to track us. If worse comes to worst, we'll have to try and get away. Before Han Li finished his sentence, his voice suddenly cut off as a surprised look appeared on his face. What is it, Brother Han? Lu Yuqing asked with a slightly anxious expression. Han Li offered no response as he hurried over to the semi-collapsed stone archway before carefully examining it. Lu Yuqing also followed along and began to inspect the archway with tightly furrowed brows, and each of them were using their respective ocular ability. Moments later, Lu Yuqing withdrew her gaze as she asked in a puzzled manner, Is there something special about this archway, Brother Han? Han Li shook his head in response. Do you not see anything either? Looks like it must have been my imagination then. Let's go. With that, the two of them stepped through the stone archway, but as soon as they did so, the space around them instantly began to warp, like a sheet of paper that had suddenly been poked inward, resulting in layers of creases. Han Li was quite startled to see this, but it was too late for him to backtrack, and he stumbled forward before steadying himself. Lu Yuqing also tipped forward involuntarily, and she would have fallen on her face had Han Li not reacted sufficiently quickly to catch her. Upon witnessing the scene that laid out before her, Lu Yuqing immediately exclaimed, "Where are we right now?" A thin and long mountain range that stretched for hundreds of kilometers had appeared in front of them, and it seemed that the mountain range was connected to the island that they were currently on. Han Li turned back to discover that the stone archway was still there, but it seemed very out of place in this setting. "It looks like this archway is the entrance to another area," Han Li mused.